Good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Hall. I am the superintendent of schools for RSU 14. And it's my pleasure to welcome all of you tonight to the RSU 14 district budget meeting. I know many of you had a chance to send and to read some of the letters that have been sent out, but in RSU 14, like many other RSUs, it's a three-step budget process. First step is that the board approves the budget, which they did back on April 13th. Second step is for the legislative body, which is all of you seated in your seats tonight, for you to take a look at the budget articles. We need to leave tonight with a final budget. So that's step 2. And then step 3 is June 13th, where the public will have a chance to go to the polls and either accept or reject the budget, which you as the legislative body get to approve tonight. So thank you all for coming out tonight. It's actually probably nice. It's a little chilly and not so great out there. So that we can get a good turnout for this night. So at this point, I'd like to invite everyone to stand and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And at this time, I'd like to invite the RSU 14 Board of Directors to just quickly introduce themselves. Al, you're holding the mic. Why don't you go ahead and go first?
I'm Al Potter, and I'm the student representative.
Kate Bricks.
Christina Small.
Jessica Bridges.
Madge Gavoni. Jody Carroll, Raymond Rep.
Caitlin Downs. Shar Jewell. Jenny Butler.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. And the first motion on the floor, or first item of business, is Article 1A, to elect a moderator to preside at the meeting. Are there any nominations from the floor?
I nominate Bill Stockmeyer.
Second.
Are there any other nominations from the floor? Okay, I'm going to call the calling of moderators closed. All those in favor of Bill Stockmeyer for moderator, please raise your little pink cards. Opposed? Okay, looks like it passes. So, Bill, I'm going to have you come up and take the oath. Please raise your right hand. Repeat after me. Do you swear to support the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Maine, so long as you shall continue to be a citizen thereof, and faithfully discharge to the best of your abilities the duties incumbent on you as moderator of the Regional School Unit 14 budget meeting on May 17th, 2023, according to the constitutions and the laws of the state of Maine?
I do.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to you.
I'm going to sign this. Give it to you. Thank you, and thank you very everyone for turning out tonight for this meeting. I'd like to begin by making sure that if you are a registered voter, that you have your pink voting card, a yes/no voting slip for the written ballot article when we get to it, and I believe there's a budget booklet. So if you're a registered voter and don't have those things, you should go see your town clerk outside. Second, I'd like to ask if there are any non-voters. Could you just raise your hand and identify yourselves? Okay, so we would like to usually segregate the non-voters. Since we're voting with voting cards, I mean, I really don't see more than a couple people. We're going to let you stay there unless there's an objection. If there's an objection, we'll move the non-voters maybe over here or in back. Is there any objection, given the number and given that you'll be able to vote with your pink cards, if we just leave the non-voters where they are? Any objection to that? Okay, that's what we'll do then. The next, just to let you know, I've already sworn in the ballot clerks, so we don't need to take time of the meeting to do that. They've signed their oaths. Rules of procedure, I will generally follow the procedures of the main moderator's manual. There are a couple of modifications due to provisions of main law. Normally, if you're not a voter, you're not allowed to speak to the meeting unless the meeting votes to allow you to speak. However, we may have school officials, whether it be transportation director or food service director, or in the case, a superintendent or business manager who's not a resident. There may be questions or things they need to clarify for the voters in the course of their job responsibilities. So if there are any such officials who are not residents, we're not going to bother to vote in order to allow them to answer that question or clarify that point. And of course, the superintendent will be presenting the budget. And then also, by law, we will have a written ballot on Article 14. Any objection to the rules of procedure? Okay, hearing none. What I'm going to do now is recognize Superintendent Howell to give a presentation of the budget.
This working, and I'm actually going to come down to the floor. So thank you again for all of you for coming out tonight. This is our RSU 14 district budget meeting. And for those of you who are at the May 1st, March 1st budget meeting, this is a process that we've been working through. Budgets, believe it or not, it always feels like we pass a budget and then we start the next one. But November to December is budget development for all the different cost centers, working through, meeting with myself, the assistant superintendent, and our business person. January, February, the A team is working through, and the administrative team, all the school administrators, plus the central office administrators, and even in addition, all the directors are working through building the budget. On March 1st, I presented my budget to the board, and it became their budget. March 1st, 8th, 15th, 22nd, budget presentations where the community had a chance to come, ask questions about different segments of the budget. The board had a chance to deliberate on March 29th, April 5th, and finally on April 13th was when the board approved our district budget. That is the budget that all of you are considering tonight. Tonight is the public budget meeting, and June 13th is our budget referendum. When we work through budget process with the administrative team, we look at a couple different things. One is always what our enrollments look like, and you'll see a couple elements in the budget tonight which are addressing bubbles that we're seeing coming through. We're looking at school safety. How do we best safely meet the needs of kids and families as they access RSU 14? We look at program development. We look at our learners who might have special needs, looking to build it in, and then we look at our strategic plan. And the strategic plan is a big guiding focus, and for those familiar with the strategic plan, much of the work was done on how do we engage students and make sure that their needs are taken care of. Our challenges for this year, our original open the door, and open the door is just if we had the budget this year and we moved it to next year, what would negotiated salaries, health insurance, all those other components be? It was 4.18%. That included, again, the contracts, health insurance. Some other challenges that we have, Wyndham and Raymond, people want to live here. They're fantastic places to live, raise your kids, which means house values have been going up, and a state funding formula and a state model that looks at enrollments and also looks at overall valuation of communities. When your valuation starts to go up and especially outpace what's happening statewide, you start to see less subsidy. So it's a challenge for us. We've seen a reduction in economically disadvantaged students, and partly was in the past, if you receive free reduced hot lunch, you did a form. Free lunch is free for everybody. And so getting those forms returned, the state's still working through what economically disadvantaged look like. It became a challenge for us. And then, as everyone knows with your own pocketbooks, goods and services, fuel oils, motor fuels. A fun fact for you is that we drive the equivalent from here to Dallas every day with our student transportation. And so think about that day after day after day, all those miles on the road, it adds up. The original budget, which I presented on March 1st, and again, budget as a process, was $57,751,000, roughly a 5.97% increase throughout the budget process. That was brought down to 56.8, roughly 4.25% increase. And people always want to know, How do we compare to other communities? I know there was an article that appeared, I think it's in the Press Herald either today or tomorrow, with our neighbor Gorham at 12.6%, South Portland 10.7%, RSU 4.25%. So if you look at comparisons with our peers in Cumberland County, much of the driving factor for that is that for the first time in recent memory, health insurance came up at 0% increase for us. I don't ever remember a time, which allowed us to then reduce the budget and come in at that 4.25. But it gives you kind of a good rundown. SAD 61, that's Lake Region. SAD 6 is Bonnie Eagle. RSU 5 is Freeport, Pownell, Durham. And then there's RSU 14 down there at the bottom. To give you an idea of enrollment, and this is part of our budget story, Wyndham Primary School is pretty steady. RES is going to see a little bit of a drop next year. Manchester is up 37 kids, which is the equivalent of 2 classrooms. So starting to see a bubble come through. Jordan Small is up almost 20 students. Wyndham Middle School is down about 15, and Wyndham High School is staying steady. So looking to address those little bubbles that we see at Jordan Small and at Manchester. So the budget that you are looking at tonight contains these elements, and I feel like I've always got my back to somebody here, so I'm going to go this way now. Wyndham High School, an Eagle Block teacher is a remediation teacher, half a Spanish teacher. We are seeing increases in the number of students wanting to do more than just the basics for foreign language. You'll see a reduction of a classroom teacher at Raymond Elementary. Jordan Small has the addition of a grade 6 teacher. Primary school has a reduction of 1 classroom teacher with a drop. In technology, we have a grade level of computers, half of which will be subsidized through the state MLTI program. We have a bus aide, half a van driver, and a lot of the increases this year are supports, our multi-language learners. The number of students who first language as a second language has increased dramatically this year. So with the increase of that, some increase in social worker services at Jordan Small and Raymond Elementary, 0.2 of a counselor. We've taken a district-wide site coordinator in special education and have converted that to an assistant director. It's actually a wash when it looks at cost. A day 1 teacher. We have a day 1 program that is going to be moving into North Wyndham as a residential program because those students are now going to become residents of RSU 14. We're required to then provide education at that residence. And so now we need to add some staff. We will receive additional state subsidy to cover that, but it's an expense. And addition of a school psychologist. Manchester Elementary, a 1 year for a grade 4 teacher, that bubble coming through, a grade 5 teacher. District-wide, we're increasing the number of pre-K slots that we have. We are adding a 3rd SRO to the budget, who primarily will be assigned to our 3 elementary schools. Currently, we have 1 split between high school, middle school, elementaries, and so increasing our law enforcement presence. We've had a great partnership with the Wyndham Police Department through the SRO program. And in addition, this year, you see the reduction in school nutrition transfer. The budget always had a $100,000 transfer for food service, just because that is supposed to be a self-sufficient entity. Some years they didn't make enough profit, so we had to subsidize. With meals being free and the subsidy rate, food service is doing fine. We reduced the budget by $100,000 for that traditional subsidy transfer. So it's one of the other elements that's then moving the budget forward. So a couple last little pieces. Where does the money go? Biggest piece of the pie to regular instruction, special education, another component. Facilities maintenance, and that is up this year. Just like all of you at home with electricity, we were paying 6 cents. We had a 6-year contract for 6 cents per kilowatt. We're now up to, at least we were able to get in at 10 cents, but still huge increase in electricity, fuel oils, transportation, and then students and staff support are all those support pieces for students and some of our special needs learners. Revenue-wise, under the state funding formula, in order to receive state subsidy, there's a required portion, so that's required EPS. State subsidy, you can see that kind of 1/3 of the pie, which is state of Maine. It's close to $17 million this year that the state is subsidizing RSU 14. local debt service with the high school. Believe it or not, this building will be paid off. We have 2 payments left, one in November, and I think the last one's in May, and this place will be paid for, which is amazing, that it'll be 20 years old. And in addition, revenue, there is $1 million of fund balance that's being to reduce taxation. And then local additional are local funds which cover things that aren't covered within the EPS formula. And I'll end with, it was an awesome day, which was a whole lot warmer than tonight, back at Raymond Elementary in the fall with a fall kickoff with a bunch of pre-K kids and kindergartner kids. And it's just a reminder that the budget that you're looking at tonight, we've talked a lot about the adults and what the adults are doing, what's paying for adults, but ultimately there's 3,400 students that are serviced by RSU 14, and which the funds that you are approving tonight ultimately then support the work that staff can do to meet their needs, both in the classroom and outside the classroom, making sure that they can do absolutely the best they can, and when they leave Wyndham High School, that they have a tremendous amount of choice in their next steps of the future. So lots of things within the budget, lots of changes this year. I believe the board worked extremely hard this year to make this as a fiscally responsible budget as possible, understanding that we have some needs, but also the needs of the taxpayers in Raymond and Wyndham. So tonight, we're going to move on, Bill, to the budget.
Okay, thank you. Just going to review a few requirements. If you'd like to speak, we ask you to use the microphones. Some of you think this room can hear you. Trust me, it can't, or at least some of us can't. So if you'd like to persuade your fellow voters, please come to the microphone. If you intend to speak more than once, I invite you to sit near a microphone to save the time of the meeting. That's up to you, but you're certainly welcome to do that if that's your intention. That doesn't necessarily apply to motions and seconds, which I should be able to hear. But if you want to speak, please use the mics. Please, when I recognize you, state your name, your town, and then address the meeting. Please have questions, go through me. Basically, you're the legislators. You govern how long this meeting takes. It's not up to me, really. It's not up to anyone up here, unless they're voters in the same sense as you are. So how do you do that? If you feel debate has gone on long enough and you'd like to move to a vote, I need to have someone say, Mr. Moderator, I move the previous question, okay? Now, that will only cut off debate if 2/3 of you desire to cut off debate. So you see the fairness there. If 2/3 of you have decided whether you're voting yes or no on the motion and wish to cut off debate, you're the ones deciding to cut off debate, okay? And those who wish to speak should understand that 2/3 of your fellow legislators have decided to cut off debate. Now, if you jump up and move the previous question before there's been a legitimate chance to have any discussion at all, I'll suggest that the motion is not in order, and I'll be governed as we go along by whether or not it's evident that votes are close or not close. So everybody should understand that. We'll take up each article in turn. I'll read the article. Now, I've asked a board member and another board member to make the motion and the second. This is purely procedural. Doesn't affect your right to make an amendment, doesn't affect what is ultimately approved. You'll have a chance to do that. It's just to get it on the floor in an orderly way. After discussion, we'll vote on the main motion. If there's an amendment, we vote on the amendment. It will either pass or fail. If it passes, that was just the amendment. There could be other amendments. So the article as amended is on the floor for consideration or possible other amendment. And I'll guide you through that. It's not as complicated as it sounds. Except where the law requires a written ballot, we'll vote by raising your color-coded voting cards, and I'll call the vote. If it seems close, we'll do a count by another method. We're going to proceed now to the business articles of the meeting, but just some people find these articles a little bit confusing, which, you know, is understandable. But as you can well imagine, a budget has an expenditure side and a revenue side that should add up, right? And a total, all right? So where do we find those? The first 11 articles, 1 through 11, is that expenditure side of the budget, okay? The revenues come in a little bit differently. On the revenue side, Article 12, I'll explain later, but that's your state subsidy plus tax revenue. So there's state subsidy revenue and tax revenue in Article 12. In Article 13, there's tax revenue to pay previously approved debt. In Article 14, there is additional tax revenue. Now, if you're really quick at math and add those up, you'll notice it doesn't quite add up to the total. And that's because there are cash carry forwards and miscellaneous revenues that may have been applied on the revenue side. Unlike your town meetings, we don't vote on that. That's really incorporated in the total budget in Article 15. So your administrative staff has been hard work. Just rest assured, the revenue side does in fact add up. And this is all presented this way pursuant to requirements of state law. I didn't make this up. These folks didn't make it up. It's done the same way throughout the state, okay? And then the summary of the budget, the total is Article 15, kind of repeating what you would have done up until then, presumably, and then there's some miscellaneous articles. So that's how this will go. So let's get started. I'm going to read, we're now on the expense side of the budget, and we'll go through those articles first. Article 1, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for regular instruction. School Board recommends $22,431,002.58. Do I have a motion and a second?
I move the article as written.
Second.
Thank you. We're on, excuse me. We're on the floor now, and I will recognize you. Go right ahead. Yep, you're good. You jumped a little bit ahead of me.
Wendy Brum, Wyndham resident. I want to make a motion to increase Article 1 by 20%.
Okay, 20%, we'll do a quick calculation. Okay, if someone would check my math, that would be a motion to increase Article 1 to $26,917,203, and rounding off 10 cents, which is an increase of 22,431,002. Whoops. So that's an increase of $4,486,252. Does that sound right? To anyone who was able to do it over here? Okay. So we have an amendment on the floor to increase Article 1 by the amount of $4,486,200.52, which would bring it to $26,919,203.10. So first off, is there a second to that motion? Yes, sir. Thank you. Any discussion of the amendment? Come right up to the mic. Thank you.
Rebecca Cole Wyndham. I actually have a point of order.
Sure.
Are makers of motions or amendments required to speak to their motion?
They're not required, but they certainly, if someone makes a motion, I would certainly recognize them first after there's a second if they wish to speak. But they're not required to speak, no.
May I make a second point of order?
Yes?
Are items of debate required to be in regard to the motion on the floor?
Yes,
Thank you.
we're on the motion on the floor. Yep.
Thank you.
So we're on the amendment. So the issue, as the question is suggesting, is the discussion is whether or not to increase Article 1 by that amount. Any debate on that? Yes, sir.
Jared Maxfield, Wyndham. I would vote against that amendment. It literally makes no sense. It's designed to waste our time, tank this budget. This board, the staff have worked hard on this budget, It comes in under any other town, so to try to raise it is literally illogical. There is no reasoning given whatsoever. It's designed to waste our time and extend this meeting. So I would encourage everyone to vote against that immediately.
Okay, if we could, let's just treat everybody as respectfully as you'd like to be treated, which doesn't mean you have to be in favor of any particular motion, and if we could try not to clap on either side, that would just help keep the level of heat down to a level where I think most people would want it. So thank you, though, for speaking. And is there any further discussion of the amendment? Question's been moved. Is there a second? Second. Okay, if you're in favor of proceeding to a vote, please raise your voting cards. If you're opposed and want to continue debate, please raise your card. Okay, so the question's been moved. So now to be clear, we're not voting on the effect of the amendment. We're voting on whether to amend, and then the article will, if it passes, or if it doesn't, the article, in either case, will be back on the floor for another vote, okay? So if you're in favor of the proposed increase, you should say yes and raise your cards. Okay? If you're against the amendment, you should say no or just raise your cards is fine. Great, thank you. So the amendment fails. So now we're back on the article as written. $22,431,002.58 for regular instruction. Any further debate? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the... Give me 1 second just to see if there's more debate. And if there's not, what we'll do is I'll just suggest we go right to it, and then we won't have to vote on moving the previous question, which will save, I think, a little time if I'm reading the room correctly. Any further debate? Seeing none, I'm going to have us vote now. We don't have to move the question. I appreciate the sentiment, but we'll just get it done a little quicker, I think. Is that all right? Okay. All right, so now we're going to vote on Article 1 as written. Regular instruction, $22,431,002.58. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. Any opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 1 carries. Article 2, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for special education. School board recommends $10,243,395.42. Do I have a motion on Article 2?
I move the article as written.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, it's on the floor. Any discussion, debate, amendment? Seeing none, we're going to move to a vote on Article 2. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. Any opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 2 carries. Article 3, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for career and technical education. School board recommends $0. Do I have a motion and a second?
I move the article as written.
Second.
Okay, it's on the floor by way of explanation. Career and technical education is now funded at the facility that receives that has the students directly instead of the district being a pass-through. That's why it's $0. Unless there's an objection, we're going to move right to a vote because it's $0. Any objection? All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. Any opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 3 carries. Article 4, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for other instruction. School board recommends $1,090,506.47. This is other instruction. Is there a motion?
I move the article as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Article 4 is on discussion. This is other instruction. The amount on the floor is $1,090,506.47. Any debate or discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 4 carries. Article 5, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for student and staff support. School board recommends $5,300,741.43. I will leave my cell phone here if I don't put it in my pocket. There's no question about it. Okay, so that's the amount proposed. Is there a motion?
I move the article as written.
Second.
Okay. Article 5 is on the floor. This is student and staff support. The amount is $5,300,741.43. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. Any opposed? Thank you. Article 5 carries. Article 6, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for system administration. School Board recommends $1,575,292.93. Do I have a motion?
I move the article as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Article 6 is on the floor. This is system administration, $1,575,292.93 is the motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 6 carries. Article 7, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for school administration. School Board recommends $3,178,931.92. Is there a motion?
I move the article as written.
Second.
Article 7 is on the floor. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. Any opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 7 carries. Article 8, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for transportation and buses. School Board recommends $3,525,538.94. That's a lot of trips to Dallas, I guess, right? Is there a motion on Article 8?
I move the article as written.
Second.
Okay, Article 8 is on the floor. Transportation and buses. The amount on the floor is $3,525,538.94. Is there any discussion or debate? By the way, if you've raised your hand, I'm not skipping you. I don't have very good peripheral vision with these, graduated lenses. So just, shake your card or something, right? So please, or jump up and shout, really, because, okay. So I don't see anything, so we're going to move to a vote on Article 8. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. Any opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 8 carries. Article 9, to see what sum the regional school unit would be authorized to expend for facilities maintenance. School Board recommends $7,455,966.59. Do I have a motion and a second?
I move the article as written.
Second.
Article 9 is on the floor, facilities maintenance, and the amount written. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. I said 8? This is Article 9. Is anyone confused about that other than me? Okay, no one else is confused. We just voted on Article 9, facilities maintenance. Thanks for your patience. Article 9 carried. And I did read the amount correct? The 7 million plus? Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Article 10, to see what sum the regional school unit will be authorized to expend for debt service and other commitments. School Board recommends $1,728,375. Is there a motion?
I move the article as written.
Second.
Any discussion or debate on Article 10? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 10 carries. To see what sum, Article 11, to see what sum the regional school unit would be authorized to expend for all other expenditures. School Board recommends $280,000. Is there a motion and a second?
I move the article as written.
Second.
Article 11 is on the floor in the amount of $280,000. Any discussion or debate on Article 11? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. Any opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 11 carries. So that was the expenditure side of the budget. Just a word of explanation about this long and rather complicated Article 12. So on the right-hand side in that column are the amounts that your towns need to raise by law to qualify for state subsidy, okay? And what is the amount of state subsidy? It's not the amount in the left column. The amount in the left column is the state subsidy plus the taxes. So the state subsidy is the mathematical difference between the left column and the right column. You have to do it in your heads. This is written exactly as required by law, but I think people find that confusing. So that's what this article is about, and I'll read the article. To see what sum, so this is the revenue side now. To see what sum the regional school unit will appropriate for the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12 is described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, and to see what sum the regional school unit will raise and assess as each municipality's contribution to that total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act in accordance with the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 28, Section 15688. The total to be appropriated, state plus local, is $42,825,329.49 as written, and the total that would be raised as written of both towns together would be $24,698,265.19. Do I have a motion on Article 12?
I move the article as written.
And second?
Second.
Okay, Article 12 is on the floor. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor of Article 12? Thank you. Any opposed? Article 12 carries. Article 13 raises more local dollars, and this is for the annual payment on debt service that voters of this district previously approved by referendum vote. So this would be the amount to support that debt service payment. To see what sum, Article 13, to see what sum the regional school unit will raise and appropriate for the annual payments on debt service previously approved by the regional school unit voters for non-state funded school construction projects or non-state funded portions of school construction projects, in addition to the funds appropriated as the local share of the regional school unit's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12. School Board recommends $379,250. Is there a motion?
I move the article as written.
And a second? Article 13 is on the floor for discussion. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 13 carries. Article 14 will be that written ballot that you have in your hands. I hope you saved it. Okay, I'll instruct you when we get to it. And are any of the clerks here right now, ready to go or getting ready to go? If someone could get Linda or one of the clerks, that'd be great. Okay, I'll read the article. This is more local tax dollars to support the budget as proposed. To see what sum the regional school unit will raise and appropriate in additional local funds, recommend $12,142,197.95, which exceeds the state's essential programs and services allocation model by that amount, $12,142,197.95, as required to fund the budget recommended by the school board. So the recommendation is $12,142,197.95. Is there a motion?
I move the article as written.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, this Article 14 is now on the floor for discussion first. Any discussion or debate? Okay, so we have one ballot box, is that correct? Okay, so I will give you a hint. You are allowed to fold your ballot after you vote, but you're not required to. It goes a lot faster if you don't fold your ballot. It's entirely up to you. You can hold it in your hand. You obviously want to keep your vote secret. You certainly may fold it if you wish, but things will, in my experience, go 3 times faster with the vote count if they don't have to unfold your ballots. So, in order to vote, you need to mark yes or no. And why don't we ask people to take turns here, just so we don't get too big a lineup. And if you folks are ready, why don't I have the people in this section come up front first and cast their ballots, and then we'll call the middle section, and then we'll call the right section. Okay? That work for everybody? And by the way, the reason there's just one ballot box is because this is a district-wide vote. It's not a town-by-town vote. All the votes count in the aggregate. Yep. Okay, at this point, maybe the folks in the middle, let's start with the people on this side of the middle, and then if you can just regulate yourselves when it looks like it's under control, the people on that side of the middle, and then we'll get the right-hand side. Maybe next year I'll remember to start on the right side. Okay, so we're moving now towards the right side. And of course, the voters in back, if you're a voter, you can vote also. We're not excluding you. Okay, if you have not yet voted, you should be in line at this point to vote. So go ahead and proceed to the line. Oh, I forgot the board. So the board can vote also. Okay. Has anyone not voted that is wishing to vote? Raise your hand like mad if you are. Anyone else? Front and back? Okay. So I'll declare the voting closed, and I'll ask the clerks to count the ballots if they would. Thank you. So take it. Sure. Sure, that's fine. So this will take just a couple minutes.
Shortest board meeting in all year. It's good. I woke up at like 4 this morning. We did? Yeah, just a couple seniors got together to do a sunrise photo at East Palm Beach, so it came out really good.
It's under board, under finance, and then there's version 7's posted. Yep, yep, it's all there.
That was the picture we got.
Oh my
this
goodness.
morning. So pretty good amount of people who wanted to wake up at 4.
That's
get there at
awesome.
5, so yeah, really cool photo. Came out awesome. Oh, yeah? Oh, God, did he give you, like, the alert warning? I just got the alert. Oh, no. I've never had one. Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's a good thing I don't have one. No.
Thank you, Sue.
Okay, if we could come to order. I'll announce the results of the vote. The result was 140 yes and 17 no, so Article 14 carries. Article 15 is the total school budget, if you will, the summary of what the meeting has done so far. To see what sum the regional school unit will authorize the school board to expend for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023 and ending June 30, 2024, from the regional school unit's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, non-state funded school construction projects, additional local funds for school purposes under the Maine Revised Statutes Title 28, Section 15690, unexpended balances, tuition receipts, state subsidy, and other receipts for the support of schools. School Board recommends $56,809,751.28. Do I have a motion
I move the article as written.
and a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed? Thank you. Article 15 carries. Article 16 provides for transfers between the cost centers of the budget, those expenditure categories. Shall the school board be authorized to transfer amounts exceeding 5% of the total appropriation for any cost center to another cost center or among other cost centers for the 2023-2024 fiscal year, provided that transfers shall not be permitted to increase the authorized total school budget? Is there a motion?
I move the article as written.
Second.
Okay, Article 16 is on the floor for discussion or debate. Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 16 carries. Article 17. In addition to the amounts approved in the preceding articles, shall the school board be authorized to expend such other sums as may be received from federal or state grants or programs or other sources during the fiscal year for school and other program purposes, provided that such grants, programs, or other sources do not require the expenditure of other funds not previously appropriated? Is there a motion?
I move the article as written.
Second.
Article 17 is on the floor. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 17 carries. Article 18 is adult education, which is a different program than the school budget, to see if the regional school unit will appropriate $669,615.10 for adult education and raise $332,473.86 as the local share, with authorization to expend any additional incidental or miscellaneous receipts in the interest and for the well-being of the adult education program. Is there a motion?
I move the article as written.
And a second?
Second.
Article 18, adult education, is on the floor. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, we'll vote. All in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 18 carries. Article 19 deals with the Capital Reserve Fund. I'll read the article. Shall the school board be authorized to transfer up to $100,000 from unexpended balances to the school capital reserve fund and to expend $1,956,000 from the reserve fund for the following purposes in addition to the amounts the voters have previously authorized to be expended from the school capital reserve fund for these or other projects? So the projects are described there with the estimate for each project. I will not read them all. The total is $1,956,000. Okay, and let me just get a question here. So the total is okay, without seeing if I can not get into the complexities of the variance between the $1,956,000 in the article and the $2,056,000, the difference has to do with $100,000 going to food service. And what I'll probably do, let me just see here. One second. Okay, so there had been, during the budget creation process, a marked change to the amount in the article from $1,956,000 to $2,056,000 that didn't get incorporated into the warrant article posted. So somewhere in the chain, a mistake was made. Now, normally I would ask for an amendment to reconcile the two, but that would be an amendment upward. An amendment upward is allowed, such as was requested on the first article, when the articles are written in open format, which means the dollar amount is just a recommendation. But amendments upward are not allowed when the dollar amounts are in the article itself. It's a court case in Maine disallowing that. So what that means is the $1,956,000, assuming that was the warrant posted, is not allowed to be amended up. So I'm going to read the article as written, and you're going to be limited, if it passes, to the $1,956,000 this year, not the $2,056,000, okay? Everyone understand that? Right? So that's the mistake. I would probably suggest that it could be amended, but for Maine court decision that says when the dollar amounts are in the article itself, cannot be amended up. So we are where we are with that particular mistake, okay? Everyone get that? All right, so the total amount you would be voting on to be expended would be $1,956,000. So I'll ask for a motion for the article as written. Is there a motion?
I move the article as written.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, we've noted the discrepancy, and I'm telling you, if this is enacted, maybe it won't be, but if it is, notwithstanding the $2,056,000 at the bottom, the amount in the article is going to control, and it's going to be $1,956,000. Everyone comfortable with that? Okay, great. All right, any discussion or debate? I could explain it further, but you'd look tired. You look ready to be done. So I won't. Okay, so that's that. So all in favor, raise your cards. Thank you. Any opposed, raise your cards. Thank you. Article 19 carries. Now, while that will conclude the meeting, the business of this meeting, this budget that you've approved is subject to a referendum vote in your town communities, which is a single question ballot vote, whether you ratify what was done here tonight. Even if someone is not here tonight, they're certainly welcome and should vote on, is it June 13th? June 13th. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Any opposition? Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you so much for coming out tonight.